We can do better as a city. We have issues with homelessness, with public safety, with housing, which is driving an affordability crisis. We have issues with our infrastructure. We don't have enough economic opportunity for people. But all of those problems can be solved if we know how to operate, if we know how to manage a budget, if we know how to take action and act with transparency and accountability. And that's exactly what I'm going to do as mayor of LA. We're going to fix LA.
All right, terrific. Yeah, so we're going to start off with some questions submitted through Instagram. And once again, everyone, if you have any more questions, just drop them in the chat and we'll get to those after. So Adam, we're going to start with a question from Steve in San Pedro. Adam, all the stuff on your website and your posts talk about results and your record, but that's all private sector and nonprofit work. What have you done that applies to LA's problems from its government?
Yeah, so I just mentioned some of them, right? The government failed at creating enough economic opportunity for people, especially from certain neighborhoods in our city. I've found a way to solve that problem and have given opportunity to literally thousands of young Angelenos. We have a massive homeless problem in LA. When I sold Cornerstone, we started focusing on intractable problems. Obviously, the most intractable problem in LA is homelessness. And after a year and a half of research, determined that a holistic solution was required. I started an organization called Better Angels that has just in the last few years developed the most effective eviction prevention and homelessness prevention program in LA County. We've kept over 4,500 Angelenos who were not only vulnerable, they had already received eviction notices, and we were able to keep them housed for 98% less than what it costs when they become unhoused. Started a services initiative with Better Angels to make it easier for over 120 different nonprofits and service providers to get their services to the homeless population and get people off the street. And that program has been very effective. We've served over 15,000 unhoused neighbors just in the last couple of years. And I've been working on housing. We have an affordable housing crisis. We have a housing crisis overall. We don't have enough workforce housing. We don't have enough market rate housing. We don't have enough middle class condos and townhomes. So I started working on housing. I built an affordable housing fund that now is building housing at 1/3 the cost in 1/3 the time as what the city is doing today. So this is all directly in LA. Also worked on fire recovery, talked about the fire assistance. I also helped with the fires through Team Rubicon, but not as much as we wanted to. Team Rubicon, after the fires hit, I did this personally, I offered up our 30,000 volunteers in Southern California to help clear lots and test the land to make sure it was safe for people to move back. And again, the mayor's office asked, well, how much is it going to cost? I said, we're going to do it for free and we're ready to start tomorrow. And we got nowhere with the city. We were never able to deploy. All we were able to do was work with LAPD to manage traffic and help traffic in and out of the Palisades. We could have done so much more, but the city is not willing to get the help it needs, work with the private sector, work with nonprofits, and get things done. And that's just what I did in LA.
All right, terrific. Your second question is from Susan in Encino. Adam, I'm debating between you and Pratt. Why should we vote for you?
Look, Spencer Pratt deserves our sympathy. He had a tragedy happen. He was living in the Palisades, obviously lost his home like so many others. But Spencer doesn't have the capability, the competency, experience to be able to manage a city with a $15 billion budget, with 44 departments reporting to the mayor that have 50,000 employees, and with the scope and scale of systems problems that we see across LA. It requires somebody that knows how to operate at scale, that knows how to manage people, that knows how to lead, and how to get things done. I've been a leader for 35 years. I know how to set a vision, align a team to that vision and goals. I know how to operate with excellence. I know how to measure results and how to hold people accountable. And that takes training, that takes skill to know how to do that. And I've done it over and over and over again. And unfortunately, Spencer doesn't have any of those skills. He's never had any of that experience and won't be able to handle the scale and scope of what's going on in LA. So that's why I'm the better candidate and I'm better suited to be mayor of LA.
Great. Third question is from Doug in Westwood. Everyone says they're going to do something about homelessness, but it hasn't gotten better. So why can we trust you to get actual results?
Because everybody's been talking about homelessness, but people haven't been acting in homelessness. I've been working on homelessness for years now. I understand the specific requirements to get things done. I've been on the ground and know what works and what doesn't work. I know that homelessness is a very complex problem. I interact all the time with unhoused people. I interact all the time with the heads of the top homeless service providers, with the leaders of all the different nonprofits working on homelessness. I've worked on the housing issue. I understand how to clear the encampments, how to deal with shelter, how to more effectively deliver services, and how to end this epidemic of homelessness. And it requires an in-depth knowledge of what's going on, what works and what doesn't work, and how to get things done. And it absolutely requires a complete transformation from what the city is doing today because it obviously doesn't work.
All right. Fourth question is from Amanda in Sherman Oaks. I'm in the Valley and we're super worried about the break-ins here. What are you going to do for public safety?
So crime is obviously on the rise, and it's a travesty that people not only don't feel safe in their neighborhoods, they no longer feel safe in their actual homes. And that is a fundamental responsibility of city government. If you think about it, city government really is fundamentally responsible for two things: public safety and infrastructure. And we are completely failing at both of those things. Forget about homelessness and housing and economic opportunity. We're not even doing the very basic things that are required for a government. And so that means we have to change what we're doing. And as it relates to public safety, it means we have to double the patrols. LA has half the number of patrols of almost any other major city in the country. So it's not just our thinking that we're not safe. We are pragmatically not safe. We are statistically not safe. We don't have enough police to respond to calls. We do not have enough patrols to do anything proactive, much less respond to active incidents. So we have to do it. It's non-negotiable, and it's something that I'm going to do immediately as mayor. But public safety is not limited to crime. Public safety also involves fire and disasters. And there again, the city has failed. Our fire department is not equipped the way it needs to be. It is not given the resources it needs to be effective. And we are acting like it's 1960. It's 2026. The population has expanded. The infrastructure has changed. The fire zones have shifted. And the state of the art in how we respond to both disasters and crime has dramatically transformed. Other cities around the world, other cities in California are operating at much greater levels of innovation, are using much more modern solutions to get things done, to respond to disasters, to deal with crime. And absolutely, we need to be doing this in Los Angeles if we want LA to be as safe as it can be and to be operating as well as it should be.
All right. Fifth question, and this is going to be the last one from Instagram, from Stuart in Silver Lake. Adam, I like that you're not a politician, but are you actually going to be able to work with city council and folks to actually get things done? I'm worried you're just going to get blocked on everything you try.
Yeah, so you can't operate businesses, nonprofits, or governments hoping for the best. You have to understand what cards you're dealt and how to play the hand you're dealt. In this case, it means you have to understand what are the powers of the mayor and what can be done against these issues under mayoral control. So again, the mayor controls a $15 billion budget. Yes, city council has to approve it, but over the last 50 years, 95% of the budget gets approved. So there is some argument, but it's on the margin. It's not overall changing the priorities that the mayor sets. And there's 44 departments, including the ports, the airport, the utilities, transit, and many others where the mayor has tremendous control. And of course, again, the 50,000 employees working for all those different departments. So there are a tremendous number of resources in mayoral control, not to mention the ability to do executive orders, like has been done with ED1, like was done with the fires in the Palisades. So there is a tremendous amount that the mayor can do. I have created an operating plan for LA. I call it the 7x7 plan. It's 7 ambitious goals, and each goal has 7 specific tactics to achieve those goals. So this is not theoretical. This is exactly what I would do and how we would turn this city around. And the majority of those tactics can be done without anybody else's approval. It does not require city council approval. It does not require help from the state or the county. It's stuff that the mayor can do. It's things that we can execute on immediately and get done to turn the city around. And then, with all that momentum, with all the progress that's made from executing on all of those tactics, not only can we get those things done, but the momentum builds a base of support that makes it easier and easier to do big things. We see this happening right now in San Francisco. We have a real live example where Daniel Lurie, as the new mayor in San Francisco, only been there for about 10 months, has done an incredible job transforming the way the city is working and transforming the perception about San Francisco, which has led to a dramatic increase in his popularity, in his ability to do bigger and bigger things, get more and more done. And that's exactly what's going to happen here.
All right, terrific. We actually have one more from Instagram. This is from Mike in Century City. Adam, it's so hard to afford rent and buying a home here, and I make decent money. I don't want to move away. How will you make LA more affordable?
Look, I didn't have to go to business school undergrad and get my MBA to know that it's supply and demand. If we have relatively fixed demand, which we do, and we're undersupplied in housing, which we are, then rents and pricing is going to be sky high. And that's exactly what we have here. So we're in a situation where the only way to bring down the cost of housing is to increase the supply of housing. We have to build more housing, and the city's been terrible at building housing. In fact, LA is now what people say is redlined, meaning national real estate developers and importantly, national financial institutions. So the people that actually invest in the real estate projects to get things built have decided that LA is too difficult a place to build and they don't want to do any work here anymore. So the big companies that used to build in LA no longer are building in LA. And I hear it all the time, local developers, even those based in LA, have said, it's too hard. I'm not building in LA anymore. I'm building in Orange County or San Diego or other places, nearby states and cities, to do their work without having to deal with LA. We have to completely transform that. We have to reverse that trend and bring people back here and get people building again. And what that means is we have to streamline permitting. We have to make it much easier to build. We have to make building much more predictable. So we have to dedicate departments at DWP, at Building and Safety, at Planning to focus on net new housing, new residential housing. And we have to make it more predictable. So inspections have to be done in a limited amount of time. Inspections also should be done in parallel instead of in sequence. There are so many things that can be done to make it easier for people to build. We have to make it easier to do modular housing. All of those things will dramatically bring down the cost of rent on average across the city. And we could do it in a smart way. It doesn't mean build everything everywhere. It means understanding that there's 99 unique neighborhoods in this city and that each neighborhood has a different look and feel. And the same solution does not apply everywhere in the city. Absolutely not. You can't put 8-story apartment buildings in the middle of residential neighborhoods that are all single family homes. It doesn't work. We have to be smart about how we're deploying housing, where we're deploying housing, what form it's in, but we need more housing of all types. And by the way, it's not just affordable housing. It's equally important that we have market rate housing and workforce housing. We also can do things around tort reform, working with the state, and insurance reform to make it much easier to build condos in LA. The example you gave, right? It's very hard for middle-class families to get into owning property. And we have to make it easier for people to own property, which means more condos, more townhomes, more starter homes. And to do that, we have to change some of the rules to make it easier for people to build. I understand this because I'm building real estate in LA. I understand this in detail and understand why people aren't building here. It's really hard to do, and we can do better. It does not need to be this way. And let me tell you something, if we transform how easy it is to build in LA, not only will there be way more housing, but the price is going to come down. I just had lunch with a real estate developer who builds all over the country. Told me he builds everywhere. But LA is the only place that he builds in where he has unlimited pricing power. He can charge whatever he wants. He can raise rent as often as he wants. Why? Because there's not enough supply. We can fix that.
All right. We're going to shift gears to audience questions in a couple minutes. But Adam, before you mention the 7x7 plan, I want to make sure you have time on that. So can you give us a quick 10-minute overview of each of those 7 points and what they are and why slash how you identified these specific goals?
Yeah, so like I said, every organization I've ever run, whether it's a business or a nonprofit, the way we've gotten results is by having a plan. You can't just be reactive to what's going on. You have to be proactive. You have to have a vision and a plan of what you want to do. You have to set goals, ideally audacious goals that are tough but achievable. And you have to have tactics to achieve that plan. And that's exactly what we've set forth. So we call it the 7x7 plan. It's 7 specific goals with 7 tactics for each goal. And the goals are very specific. So what do we want to do? What are the 7 goals? And why 7? Look, the city's got a lot of problems. You can't do it in just 3. So a 3x3 plan isn't going to work for LA. There's 7 days a week. I think this lets you think about a goal every day of the week, right? What are we trying to do? What's our North Star to clean up LA and turn the city around? So number 1, we're going to reduce street homelessness by 60%. That's a huge decline. It also means that we're going to clear 80% of the visible encampments. That's encampments in front of schools, daycare centers, restaurants, stores, small businesses, commercial operations. We're going to make sure that people are able to get the ability to operate their businesses and get things done that clean up the city, enable our quality of life. We shouldn't have encampments in front of senior living centers. We shouldn't have encampments in front of grocery stores. We also should be able to use our parks and our sidewalks. So to do that, we also have to not only increase shelter bed capacity, let's start by utilizing all our shelter bed capacity. 25% of our shelter beds are empty. The city doesn't even know where all the shelter beds are. And so Better Angels has been building a comprehensive database of all the interim housing in LA to make sure we know exactly where it is. And we've been working with Booz Allen Hamilton, a consulting firm, to streamline the process from street to shelter to get people housed and the services that they need to keep them off the street. Not this ridiculous idea that we give somebody a motel room for a motel that's costing us $85,000 a year, which is equivalent to giving somebody an apartment for $7,400 a month with no services, nothing, and hope for the best. We can do better. Number two, lower average rents by 10%. We just talked about it. Only way you're going to lower average rents is supply and demand. We got to increase supply. Just this endless idea of trying to somehow just ask people to reduce rent, that's not going to happen, right? It's more housing. And there are so many things we can do to streamline housing, like I just talked about, and have an emphasis on affordable and workforce housing by giving incentives to 100% affordable projects, by providing guarantees for emerging developers. So these are smaller developers or younger real estate developers trying to break into the industry that can't access construction financing. Let's not give them the financing. We don't have the money to do that, but let's provide a guarantee on that financing. It's something like giving insurance where it's distributed across many, many different people, many different projects, and allows us to get a lot more housing built. There's a number of things we could do to simplify permitting, and I'm going to talk about ways to reduce permitting time. Number three, we got to double the patrols. Have to. We got to get LAPD back up to at minimum 10,000 officers. We have to enable 24/7 staffing across all 21 divisions. We have to bring back foot patrols downtown, mid-city, K-town, all the urbanized areas where street car units aren't sufficient. You got to have people on the ground. We have to also specialize our services. We shouldn't have our officers trained to fight crime dealing with homelessness. We need a dedicated team that's working on homelessness, people that are trained to deal with people who are mentally ill, who are severely addicted, to get them off the street, into housing, into service and treatment programs that they need. Number four, we need to reduce our permitting time. This goes back to making housing easier to build in LA, but the reality is we should be able to reduce permitting time in this city by 80%, 80%. How do you do that? It's 2026. We should have AI validation of all permit applications. And of course, all applications should be submitted online. This idea of paper-based applications that get reviewed in 3 months, that get sent back to you because you missed one question on page 27 is ridiculous. That can be resolved day one. We also can move to self-certification. of many things that require permits. We have licensed engineers and licensed architects. They can certify projects, and then we just audit 20% of the projects, not 100%. Dramatically reduce the workload of planning, of DWP, of building and safety. We can eliminate the need for permits for low risk things. For example, if you do a non-structural remodel in your house, you want to just redo a wall or something like that, and it's non-structural, go ahead. Why do we need to have you have a permit? There's a lot of permitting requirements in this city that just don't make sense that we can get rid of. Again, reducing costs, reducing time, making it easier for everyone to operate, including small business owners who are waiting years to get permits to open or expand their businesses. It doesn't make sense. It makes it hard to create jobs when you do that. And I would make all of this extremely transparent by having a public dashboard with all outstanding permits, with the duration of time that those permits have been at the stage they're at, and ensuring that things are moving through the system and getting approved and getting done. Number 5, we got to rebuild 1,500 miles of roadway. The city of LA has 7,500 miles of roadway. We also have obviously sidewalks and intersections and trash all over the place. We can do so much better than we're doing today. If you think about it, like anything else in life, things break down over time on the streets. Your average street lasts somewhere between 15 and 20 years, especially in a place like LA where there's a lot of traffic. So the streets are constantly used. Right now, if we assume conservatively that the streets deteriorate over 15 years, we should be repairing about 500 miles of street a year. We used to do something like that. This year, we're doing 20 miles. Last year, we did 0. Our streets are going to completely fall apart. And guess what? When the streets start falling apart, number one, it becomes more and more expensive to repair. So just like health, if your health deteriorates, the more you let it deteriorate, the harder it is to recover, and the more expensive it is. Same thing's true with the streets. In addition, the broken streets, the broken sidewalks, the broken streetlights all lead to liability for the city. And soon we're going to be paying much more in liability settlements than it would cost to do the maintenance and repair. And so we got to fix this. It's an urgent problem. We got to get our hands around it and take action. And this is an operational problem. Managing equipment, managing maintenance, managing streets are operational problems. We need an operator that knows how to get things done. Number 6, we want to create 100,000 new jobs. That absolutely can get done. The airport expansion helps with that. The Olympics is going to help with that. But we need to bring back industry. Hollywood is down 40% since 2019. That's a tremendous number of jobs that have been lost. We need to bring film production back to Hollywood. We need to bring big business back to LA. LA is the second biggest city in the country, but has one of the lowest number of Fortune 500 companies of any major city in the country. It's because of how we're operating. It's because of how we're taxing the gross receipts of major corporations. We're not doing public-private partnerships. We're not leveraging the talent in our corporate sector to help us attract and build business. And we're not doing enough around workforce development to ensure that our younger people are trained and equipped to take the jobs of the future, not the jobs of the past. And that includes things like AI, but that also includes things like logistics at our ports, being able to do the jobs that are needed in the city, not just yesterday, but tomorrow. And lastly, number 7, we got to bring LA into the 21st century. We are operating in many cases like it's 1950. We are not leveraging any of the modern infrastructure or innovations that are out there to make us safer, make our streets cleaner, make it easier to deal with LA, make it more transparent, make the system more accountable, and to make it easier to do business here. There are so many things that we can do to leverage the innovations that have been brought up over the last decade, the last 5 years. There's a tremendous number of things that we could be doing to make this a better place to live. And I would do that as mayor of LA, starting with a Fix LA platform that would be released day one to ensure that everybody knew what we were working on, how much we were spending, when things were getting fixed, how long things were taking, and where the delays were happening and what we were doing about it from day one. There is no reason in 2026 we can't be totally transparent about what's happening with our government. And that's how I'm going to fix LA.
Terrific. That actually leads very nicely into our first question. Adam, there's been a lot of talk about accountability from other candidates. As mayor, how would you ensure that accountability in city government stays at the forefront of your mind?
Yeah, I'll just give you two really specific things that I would do. So I ran a public company for 10 years as CEO. Public companies have to be transparent, and the CEO is held accountable for everything that happens. The reality is that number one, I would interview every single, not just department head of the 44 departments, so not just the GMs, but everyone who reported to them. Because the way I know to operate is not just through direct reports, but skip level meetings. You have to understand what's going on and why things are working and not working. A lot of those people are going to need to be replaced, and a lot of clarity is going to need to be set about how the city is going to be transparent and what specific metrics people are going to be held to, and people will be held accountable. And yes, people will say, well, there's unions, there's rules, there's civil servants. I will tell you, having run so many businesses with thousands of employees, what I can tell you is that there are many circumstances where you can't fire the person straight out, but you absolutely can reallocate them. You absolutely can change responsibilities. You absolutely can put somebody in charge that knows what they're doing and has results and is getting things done. And that's what I would do across the board.
All right. Next question here from Mark L. Where does Adam stand on the entertainment industry and significant job losses that it's been experiencing for the past several years?
Yeah, so like I said, we're down 40% since 2019, and we've made it way too hard to film here. We're also not competitive with other parts of the country and other places in the world. We're losing way too much production to Atlanta, to Toronto, to Budapest, and now to New Jersey. There's tremendous competition out there because they realize if we're not going to do our jobs, they'll happily take that business and build the industry there. We need to bring it back. And quite frankly, I view this as a very urgent issue. The 40% down in production translates to almost 100,000 jobs. The problem is, this has been going on for 4 years now, 5 years. If this continues, what will happen is most of the talent that we have in LA will relocate. They'll go somewhere else. They'll go to where the jobs are. And the problem with that is then you can never bring it back. Our only chance to bring it back is based on the fact that we still have all the talent here. We still have the creatives, and not just the people above the line, but the people below the line. We have all of the infrastructure needed, but we're not delivering. So we have to work with the state and the county to provide uncapped tax incentives. We have to make sure that those incentives not only apply to people below the line, but also we have to enable incentives for people above the line. They're the ones making the decisions. We want to keep them here. We have to streamline permitting. We have to Make it easier for people to shoot on city property. There shouldn't be fees around filming on city property. We have to make it easier to do business here, centralize offices, provide incentives for production, hiring local talent. All of these things can be done very quickly. The main thing that needs outside approval, obviously, is not from city council, but from the state. But the state understands this is a real problem too. You hear people in the governor's race talking about it. We have an ability to be competitive. And by the way, we don't have to get into a bidding war with these other cities. We don't have to be more economically compelling. We just have to be in the range. I know this from running businesses here. It's cheaper to do business in other places, but I love being in LA. If it became too much of a difference, then you'd be forced to relocate. And that's exactly what's happening here. We have to close the gap, make it more competitive, and make it more compelling to film in LA. And that's exactly what's going to happen.
All right. Next question is from Kristen M. Last year, our home was broken into, and they never received follow-up from detectives. What is your plan to upgrade LAPD's response to all citizen needs so that we can all feel safe and feel like the city is working on behalf of its citizens?
Yeah, this is another one of these supply and demand problems, right? It's an operating problem, which is there's too many calls for the number of patrols that we have. So the way LAPD works right now is they code the calls that come in. It's code 0, code 2, 3, and for some reason there's no code 1. But if a burglary happened and you're not there, you come home, your house is vandalized, that's code 0 because there's not an active incident. Code 2, there's something active. Code 3, it's active but potential violence. So code 3, all the patrol units respond as quickly as possible. Code 2, they respond when they can, but they go directly there. Code 0 is more like when you get around to it. And the problem is because we don't have enough patrols, most of the officers are dealing with code 2 and code 3. They don't have time to get to code 0. And we also have a lot of inefficiencies around how people get booked in the whole process of booking a perpetrator, which takes that patrol off the street. So remember, we have 50% of the patrols we should, and then it takes them a long time, so they go off the street. Stanley Cup playoffs are going on right now. This is kind of what happens in hockey, that when you're in the penalty box, somebody's off the field. So when a cop is booking somebody, two people, right? The unit is now dealing with the perpetrator either in the division office, or at the station or at the jail. And so what happens is people are getting pulled off of patrol, off the street, and we already didn't have enough people. So on a busy night, if this happens on a weekend night, good luck getting anybody to come to your house. And we can do better than that. And the way to do better is doubling the patrols and streamlining the operations that officers have to do out of patrol. We can do both. We also can leverage technology to be more proactive and to solve crimes. All of that has been implemented in other cities. By the way, you don't have to look very far. Beverly Hills has a very modern law enforcement operation right now, right in the midst of our city. And we can replicate the kind of innovation that they've applied to be much more effective. And all of that is going to make us safer.
Great. Next question. Adam, do you think we're ready for the Olympics? What is your plan to get the city prepared and showcased for the world?
Yeah, so the answer is we're definitely not ready for the Olympics, unfortunately. The Olympics creates a couple of different forks in the road for us. So one fork in the road is the Olympics could be economically a liability for the city or a tremendous revenue opportunity for the city. The way it's running right now, it looks like it's going to be a liability. And we don't have the financial wherewithal to be able to handle that kind of liability. It literally could make the city bankrupt. On the other hand, if we manage it properly, the Olympics create a generational opportunity to build the surplus. This is what happened in 1984. We were able to build the surplus, and then you're able to use that money for all the infrastructure projects we're talking about, the innovation projects. There's a lot we can do with a surplus to make this city even better. But we have to be managing it properly. The other fork in the road we have is the Olympics is going to put LA on a global stage. And right now, if we had camera crews from around the world driving around LA, honestly, we'd all be humiliated. The city looks terrible right now. And it's not just the encampments, it's the trash, it's the broken streets, the sidewalks, it's the street lights, it's the vandalism, the graffiti. There is a lot, all the empty storefronts, all of which put us in a really bad light. So we have a choice with the Olympics coming up. We could try to hide our issues or we could fix them. And I want to fix them.
All right, terrific. We only have a couple minutes left here. So is there anything, any closing statements you want to leave people with?
Look, the issues that are being raised today are the same issues that I hear everywhere in this city. The same challenges. People are concerned about the same things. They're concerned about homelessness, which has become pervasive. It's an epidemic. It's everywhere in the city of LA, and it has real impact on quality of life and on many other things. I was just with a number of animal rescue nonprofits who are very concerned about the treatment of animals related to Skid Row, for example, and the fact that this issue has pervaded so many things. Also, the homeless population and homelessness related issues take up about 50% of our emergency service calls. So that means when we're already understaffed, 1% of the population is taking up 50% of the calls, which means less resources available to us. Or if you want to think about it mathematically, it means that we have about 25% of the available patrols that other major cities have as it relates to the vast majority of Angelenos. We got to fix that problem. We got to mitigate it. We got to shrink the numbers. Housing is a huge problem in the city because affordability is first and foremost impacted by the cost of rent and housing in the city. That's why LA is so expensive. Yes, we could get cheap tacos, and yes, we can find discounts in different places, but none of that matters if you're spending 70% of your income on rent, which is what's happening for a lot of Angelenos. A tremendous number spend over 50% of their income on rent or mortgages, which by national standards is crazy. It's insanely high. And it's why the city is so unaffordable. So we have to build more housing supply. We have to make the city safer. Public safety is a fundamental right for every Angeleno. We didn't talk about public safety as it relates to, the fires, and public safety as it relates to disasters, or, protecting our residents with regard to ICE, or protecting our residents with regard to crime. There's so much we can do to make our streets safer, make our neighborhoods safer, and make people feel safe in their own homes. And we got to deal with the infrastructure. The infrastructure is literally falling apart. The city is literally falling apart before our eyes. And again, if we let this go on for too long, it's going to be impossible to dig out of the hole. I don't think anybody in Los Angeles wants this city to follow the path of Detroit. But that's exactly what's happening right now. We can do better. We can bring businesses back. We can bring Hollywood back. We can raise revenue from having more business, more jobs, more activity. We can drive efficiency leveraging modernization across all city services to reallocate service dollars to things that work, to getting our infrastructure working, to getting our streets safe and clean. And we can help all Angelenos thrive. We can be working on workforce programs for the future. We can tackle some of our education challenges, and we can make this a city that is what everybody wants, a city where all Angelenos thrive, that capitalizes on the incredible assets that we have. We have natural beauty. We have crazy beaches and parks, and we have museums and cultural institutions. We have creativity. We're one of the most diverse cities in the world. We have amazing weather and incredible sports teams. We should be able to have one of the greatest cities on earth, but it's going to require an operator to get us there, to fix this city and make LA as amazing as it can be. And that's why I'm running for mayor. Thank you all.
Excellent. Yeah, thank you, everyone. I'm sorry we didn't get to all the questions, but we are going to be doing another one of these next Thursday. So if you would stay tuned to our text and email updates and our social media posts for the registration link to that. And if you want to submit a question ahead of time, feel free to DM us on Instagram and we'll try to include that. And even if you can't make it next week, you can always catch your answer on the recording we'll post afterwards. So thank you all for your time. Adam, thank you for your time, and have a good evening.
All right. Thank you all. You can find more at votemiller.com. Thank you.